Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting for October 6th, 2021. I'd like to first acknowledge that we are having this meeting on the traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, and with that, I look for an approval of the agenda. The agenda has supplementals. We actually have quite a few supplementals. We have 8 for DVP 21A05, Lot C. We have 5 supplementals for report number 3, DVP 21A06, and we have 16 supplementals for DVP 21D03. So with that, I look to approval of the agenda. It's been moved. Second, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you so much. Moving on now to the adoption of the minutes. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The recommendation before you is that the minutes of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of September 15th, 2021 be adopted.
Looking for a mover? Moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Moving on now to, I don't think there's any business arising, Ms. Harrison, and we move now to public input period. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak with public input, Ms. Harrison?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we have one applicant, Christine Deptuck, and she is in the lobby, and I will just admit her.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Duptouch. I see a telephone number, but, sorry? Could you?
It's Mrs. Deptuch.
Deptuch. Go ahead, yes. Please. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Christine Deptuch, and my husband James and I live at 4368 Kingscote Road. We would like to oppose Report R4 on the agenda, which is the development variance permit for 4370 Kingscote Road. We live directly beside the subject property. We have been impacted since 2015 by the actions of this property owner and the building of the new 3-story dwelling, which was placed directly beside our home on their 1.43 acres. Please refer to our attachments 10 and 11 for an updated lot site plan showing both dwelling outlines. The dwelling has been assessed and taxed as a 1-story standard residential dwelling of 965 square feet for the 3rd floor, even though there are 3 stories and clearly another living space and balcony on the 2nd floor. We have been in conversations with the Land Use Services Department since they notified us in February 2017 that the dwelling next door encroached 0.3 meters into the side yard. It is not just the variance area on the rear side corner of the dwelling setback area, but the entire structure that has negatively impacted us. The Development Services Division's recommendations to this committee states that variance approvals are generally based on functional, environmental, and aesthetic impacts, as well as the impact on the long-term sustainability of the natural environment. Setbacks or billings are prescribed in zoning bylaws to serve purposes including ensuring the use of a property does not infringe on the rights of neighbors, maintaining separation for fire protection, and providing privacy between neighboring properties. We have addressed many health and safety and privacy issues in our conversations and correspondence. Examples are trees that are planted 30 years ago are imploding along our mutual property line because roots were exposed by their excavation. There is no privacy, as their 3-story dwelling blocks our entire view, including water views that they now enjoy of Cowichan Bay and Genoa Bay on that side. They look directly over our garden and into our home. Please see our photographs, attachments 7, 8, and 9. The driveway height has continued to change and is now even with the top of our 7-foot fence line. We have concerns regarding fire safety because of the building's proximity. There is no occupancy permit. These concerns are documented in our written submissions and are detailed in our attachment 5 spreadsheet. After the first DVP was denied in 2017, the property owner decided to pursue a boundary adjustment with us rather than bylaw enforcement and taking down that portion of the dwelling that encroached. The property owner negotiated a contract with us through their agents, and their lawyer sent us the contract to move forward with a boundary adjustment and compensate us for our losses. Included in this contract was their responsibility for the trees along the property line excavation, and other fire, privacy, and safety issues were being negotiated. This was the action that everyone agreed to at that time and is the outcome we were all looking for. We were in mid-process of the boundary adjustment with the Ministry of Transportation when new agent Maria Kyle came on board. As recently as January of this year, we were led to believe by the CVRD Manager of Inspections and Enforcement that the property owner would still be going forward with a boundary adjustment. He stated in his email, "In regards to the lot boundary adjustment, the owners have assured me that they have been resolving the issues they have faced that have slowed the process down and now wish to move forward with this option. This would appear to be a desirable solution for all involved, provided it can be done in a time frame that is agreeable to all parties affected." So, how can all of this work be wiped out? And how can the property owner apply for a second DVP citing the same reason when the first one was turned down? We have found the last 6 years dealing with this unreliable property owner and his agents as very stressful for our family. We have had to put in a lot of time and effort for the last 6 years with no resolve. We have been negotiating in good faith. On Sunday, a for sale sign was posted at their property. This action may appear to purchasers to assume that this DVP has already been approved. Whether this property sells or not, the
Excuse me, I'd
actions of
just
this
like to remind
property
you
owner and the unaddressed issues devalue our property, and these ongoing issues will still remain the same for any owner of that property. The outcome we are still seeking is to move ahead with the boundary adjustment and contract while addressing the health, safety, and privacy concerns. Thank you to this committee for allowing us the opportunity to voice our concerns.
Thank you so much. You had 3 minutes, just went a little bit over. Thank you so much. Oh, she can't hear me? You can't hear me? They can't hear me. They can't hear me. I didn't touch anything. Did I? What happened? Can you hear me now? No, they still can't hear me. Is it, maybe I touched the orange
Hello,
button?
is anyone there?
Can anybody talk to?
Staff are dealing with some technical issues.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties with the sound. Thank you very much, Ms. Deptouch. And we will now continue. Do we have any other? I think that was the only one. Ms. Harrison?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, we will move on now to correspondence. We have no delegations, so C1.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item C1 is a grant and aid request from Electoral Area E, Cowichan Station, Satlam, Glenora, and the recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that a grant and aid Electoral Area E, Cowichan Station, Satlam, Glenora, in the amount of $500 be provided to Cowichan Estuary Nature Center to support the Youth Watershed Restoration Program.
It's been moved. It's seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. We move on now to C2. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item C2 is a grant and aid request from Electoral Area I, Yubo-Mead Creek, and the recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that a grant and aid Electoral Area I, Yubo-Mead Creek, in the amount of $3,000 be provided to Cowichan Lake District Chamber of Commerce to support the Mobile Services Unit.
It's been moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. We move now on to information. Information 1, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item IN1 are the Electoral Area I, Mead Creek Advisory Planning Commission minutes of February 4th, 2021, and they are there for information.
So this is for information. Is there anyone that wishes to ask a question? Seeing none, I move on now to reports. R1, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R1 is a report from the Development Services Division regarding application number COV 21F02 for 5128 Culverton Road, PID 001427181, and the applicant is in the lobby. I will just admit them.
No, looking for Sarah Lamont. Are you there? Oh, yes, she is. Welcome. Okay, we can go ahead. Welcome, Mr. Limshoe. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I won't give a formal presentation on this because I believe the staff report is fairly straightforward. There is a restrictive covenant that currently exists on title. The applicant is currently in the process of addressing the condition of the covenant by removing the existing building. And thus the recommendation from staff is to allow for the discharge of the covenant subject to confirmation that the building has been removed from the property.
I'm having, barely hear you, Mr. Limshoe. I don't know if it's your microphone, but I think, is everybody okay? Did everybody get a chance to hear that? It was low, but I think we got it. And I'll turn to Director Morrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if there's no other questions from directors, I'd be more than willing to move the staff recommendation as published in the agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Ms. Lamont. That will go to the next board meeting, which is October 13th. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Moving on now to report number 2, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R2 is a report from the Development Services Division regarding application number DVP 21A05, proposed Lot C, southeast and southwest corner of Briarwood Drive and Shauna Goodmill Bay Road, PID 003446913, and the applicant Denise Coors is in the lobby.
Is she in? Welcome. Oh, I see Denise. Yep. Welcome, Denise. And welcome, Mr. Mazzoni. I should be able to say that. That's an easy one compared to mine. And go ahead, please, with R2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Mr. Mazzoni will be presenting this application. Can everybody hear me okay now?
It's coming through, but very faint.
Okay, so Mr. Mazzoni is our newest addition to Development Services. His position is Senior Planner for the Development Services Department. If you can bear with me for a sec, I'm just going to share my screen for the presentation. If you bear with me for a sec, I'm just going to share my screen. Alrighty, can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
All right. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Felice, to make his presentation.
Thank you, Frank. Can everybody hear me fairly well?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. The application today is for a development variance permit for setback to a wetland area as well as lot coverage. It is proposed at Lot C It doesn't have a street address right now, so it's just the southeast and southwest corner of Briarwood Drive. It's a subdivision, dealing with a subdivision that's in process, and that's already come to the CVRD. Council has already seen that subdivision. It is in Electoral Area A, and you can see on the right the area that the subdivision covers and the properties that surround it. I put a few maps in this development variance application because I had a few requests from surrounding landowners and clarifications regarding wetland versus riparian, and a few people were unsure of where the setback was occurring. So I've put the arrow to showing on the right hand side there, and Frank's pointing it out, the wetland areas that are covered here, and they are not connected to the Hollings Creek riparian area. They have been assessed by the QEP as wetland areas that don't exist year round. They actually dry up in the summer. They are not connected above ground or below ground to the Fish-Bearing Creek or the riparian areas. And so the applicant has requested a setback variance from 15 to 5 meters on that riparian area, as you can see there with the blue arrow. On the left-hand side, the lower picture is a picture of the proposed subdivision, and you will all probably remember that coming to the CVRD. And the top left picture there is actually the property, and you can proposed lot C. And if you look closely, you can see the very small wetland areas on that particular site as well. So the second, the riparian, there's a riparian or a wetland setback variance being requested, and the second one is a lot coverage variance. In the zoning bylaw, in the South Cowichan zoning bylaw, you have a parcel coverage that exists, and it's either 500 square meters or 20%. In this case, it is 500 square meters, and the applicant is asking to change that to 860 square meters. It's actually a change from 3.7% to about 6.5% on the property. So that is the second variance that's being requested. If you recall, the subdivision was created just a short while ago. That's in the process with Ministry of Highways now. The subdivision was actually created with smaller lots than originally proposed because of a greater parkland dedication within the application. And that has also resulted in this lot coverage variances as the property sizes were a little bit smaller than they had originally proposed.
Great, thank you. Does the applicant wish to add anything, Ms. Coors?
Hello.
Hello, do you wish to add anything?
Just wanted to check and see if you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I just had a couple of things I just wanted to add. First of all, there were several references just now in this presentation to those wetland areas as being riparian. And I just want to stress that they're not under the wrapper. They are isolated wetland areas, which are protected, but there is no required setback, according to our registered professional biologist, to meet the wrapper standards. So they're isolated wetlands. They are not riparian, I guess, is the distinction I would make. However, there is a section in the zoning bylaw requiring a 15-meter setback from any wetland. In this case, that applied to these areas. So we fully intend to protect the area, these isolated wetland areas. And further to that, rather than go with a 15-meter, we've proposed a 5-meter setback, primarily for additional protection of any trees that might be located within the root systems of any trees that are located within that. So typically, an additional protection area of 5 meters is considered adequate to provide for that. So I just wanted to give that as a little bit of background on sort of what we're dealing with here. And I just want to further add that we can only vary this because we are willing, because it's not provincially protected area other than the wetland itself, or not considered riparian. So this is some of the background around the request to reduce that. My understanding from staff is we could still put things like driveways in that through this 15-meter setback, but no structures could be built in those areas, which pushes all of the construction on these future lots further to the back of the lot, which is not as preferable in terms of the fact that these are already cleared areas. The other part of these, this discussion around the maximum lot area, lot coverage of set at 500 square meters. And I just wanted to provide a bit more detail on the specifics on this site in how I think we are dealing with some of the issues that can come from increasing the coverage on a property. So to start with, I'm just going to say we have a DP in place, and we'll be registering a covenant on the property requiring all hard surfaces to have on-site detention to mimic pre-development flow. So the additional coverage would not result in any additional runoff from the site beyond what's there already now. Also, I think to some extent, reducing areas is an...
Oh, you've been muted. You must have pressed mute. Sorry, I did. Oh, we did. No, it's okay. You're okay, Ms. Coors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't press anything. Okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, it's okay. So I just wanted to point out that you can see from this aerial photo that there are large areas of cleared areas, and the SPIA and park areas that are being proposed with this development take up the majority of those existing treed areas. So it's not going to result in the requirement to take out more trees from the site in order to accommodate the additional areas. And I just one more thing regarding the storm. On a previous development that we did in Cowichan Bay, we were asked by a couple of agencies, or it was identified to us that there were concerns with the future maintenance by homeowners of private on-site storm systems and issues that were associated with the installation of those systems, and then the long-term maintenance by the owners. I just want to say that we developed a very easy to read pamphlet that went on this in a covenant on all of those properties, and we are proposing to do the same here, called Maintaining Your Private On-Site Storm System. So it's just a small pamphlet for the future homeowners, even if they sell the lot to somebody else, which really outlines the key features of the storm detention systems that are on their property, and any ditching, and the importance of maintaining these in order to maintain for environmental protection and for the safety of their properties against flooding. So again, we are putting these documents on these lots so that the future owners will know why they have these detention systems, and also the importance of maintaining them. So in this case, for this lot, we're in Lot C, we're talking about an increase. Basically, if you look at the total site area, we're really only looking at an increase from from the 500 square meters, but in terms of the lot size, it's increasing it to 6.5% of the total lot size. And for a large lot like this is not unusual. We're not going to be building buildings which will be immediately adjacent to another home or building, which might happen in other situations as well. So there's no loss of privacy really associated with accepting the increased lot area. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about this and the next application, but in particular, this one has the component of reducing the zoning bylaw requirement for the 15-meter setback to 5.
Thank you. And then I turn to get the screen down. That's great. Thank you so much. And now any questions from the committee for staff or the applicant? Seeing, go ahead, Director Markman.
Just a question through to staff. I notice in your conclusion that you state that there won't be any negative impact to the neighborhood, and yet we received quite a few letters from the neighborhood stating otherwise. Can you maybe clarify what your thinking was along that?
Who is this to? Oh, go ahead.
I can answer just for myself, and Frank can to ad lib if he wishes. We're not increasing density. I think a lot of people were worried that an extra dwelling was being put on this piece of property. That density is not being increased. It's just the lot coverage that's being varied, as well as a lot of the concerns were about setback from the riparian versus setback from the wetland. And I think a lot of people thought that the riparian area was being varied, and it was not. So, I mean, I can only talk from a technical perspective, and those are the two that basically I formed a conclusion over.
Thank you. Go ahead. I'll turn to Director Nicholson first and then go to Director Salmon. Go ahead, Director Nicholson.
Thank you. I guess, well, I understand that there's no change in density, but I feel that the community has developed an official community plan and zoning bylaws, and this is a new development, a new subdivision, and it seems unusual to me that we would immediately start relaxing those regulations. They're obviously there for a reason, for the community. That's what the community is looking for, and so I'm feeling very uncomfortable about this.
So that's not a question to anyone. That was just a comment. I turn now to
Well, it was a comment.
Oh.
Excuse me, but
Okay.
you know, I would like to understand more from the planners because they're the ones that made this recommendation.
Okay. Staff wish to respond?
Well, I guess I'll jump in. As
We can't hear you. You just have to speak up. Can barely hear you.
Okay. So as indicated by Mr. Mazzoni, the bylaw does allow for, or does speak to a 20% lot coverage with a maximum square footage of 500 square meters. And so, yes, so those are the rules that are in place today. And for the most part, people abide by those rules. And there are circumstances in which folks, property owners, have the ability to ask for a variance. And certainly the board and this committee has the ability to decide whether or not that request is appropriate or not. I think as outlined in the presentation, you know, the request for the variance in this particular case, it's not increasing the number of dwellings per se. It's increasing the size of the amount of square footage permitted. There really doesn't appear to be any sort of negative impact to the surrounding neighborhood in that, for the most part, the property and the proposed lots are buffered by the existing trees and vegetations from the properties that are that are immediately adjacent to this particular site. So I guess at the end of the day, the applicant does have the prerogative to make the request. You know, when we look at the numbers, like I say, if you look at a 20% max coverage and what's being requested here, we're still under 10%. It's I believe it's just over 6%.
Yeah, 6.5%. So the applicant is actually just making a 2.8% difference in lot coverage.
Thank you. Ms. Coors?
I just want to make sure, also, I think there's two parts to this question. So I just want to confirm, I think there was also a question 15 meters to 5. if that's the case, again, I just want to point out that this reduction doesn't affect riparian areas, certainly doesn't affect the ones associated with the creek itself, Hollings Creek. And those setback areas that we proposed for that side of the property, if you will remain. We're only talking about the area on one of these lots on one side of these isolated wetlands, which again, I just want to stress are not riparian. So and we wouldn't be able to vary a provincially mandated setback anyway. So the rationale behind the reduction from 15 to 5 is really just that this setback of 15 meters is typically something that's more associated with riparian area than it is. And I noticed in reviewing this zoning requirement in another area, the wording of it is that this 15 meters only applies if it's deemed to be riparian under provincial requirements. So again, it's a bit of a mixed message throughout the CVRD. In some areas, this wouldn't be required because these aren't riparian areas. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. I turn now to Director Salmon, and then I have Directors Morrison. Is there anyone else that wishes to ask a question? Go ahead, Director Salmon.
I can let Director Morrison go first if you like.
Okay, Director Morrison.
Thank you for yielding, Director Salmon. Nothing earth-shattering here. It's I had the same question that Director Nicholson had, and in the grand scheme of things, this official community plan has been around for some time, and this seems to be on balance. After reading the report and reading the supporting material, yes, it is beyond the maximum that's allowed in the smaller of the two numbers, but these aren't very tiny lots that the impact isn't going to have as significant an effect. And I just considering them on balance and the way that this development is being put together, I think that it's reasonable, it's not unreasonable, and if the director is going to move this to go forward, I would be supportive. Thank you.
Director Salmon, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'd just like to start by acknowledging the applicants have been very cooperative in the past, and we do have the extra parkland along the creek to as a result of that, which will be used for a future trail ideally. So I'd like to thank them for that. However, I really have some concerns about this, and I would like to actually move option 2 to deny. If I could get a seconder, I will speak to that.
It has been moved and seconded for option 2. Is there any discussion on option 2? Go ahead, Director Salmon.
Yeah, so I'll elaborate. So I think we've all seen the letters from the various residents of the Briarwood neighborhood, all opposed for various reasons, as have been other input I've received informally. But the basis really is just the character and the fitting in with the neighborhood. When you look at what's requested here, it's to go up to 860 square meters, which is over 9,000 square feet of the buildings, and it's just not in keeping with the feeling of the neighborhood. This is a high visibility parcel. Some people are also concerned about, we've got a 6-lot subdivision here, so what's the precedent? Or are they all going to want variances up to 8,000 or 9,000 square feet of buildings? So, and then secondarily, there's some environmental concern about the amount of built area and infiltration. So, on balance, I think this is just kind of a one that I don't want to go in that direction. I mean, generally we want affordability, we want smaller homes, and having this group of already large, I don't want to get already even larger, especially in a high visibility spot, and it doesn't fit the existing character of the neighborhood. So, yeah, in sum, I think we should stick to the bylaw on this one.
there anyone else that wishes to speak before I call the question? Go ahead, Director Wilson, and then Director Acton. Go ahead, Director Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I fully understand the concerns that Director Salmon has brought forward, but one of the things that comes to mind here is that more and more families are, and I fully appreciate the size of the house, but more and more families are having to find places to bring an extended family into to ease the affordability crisis. And this is happening more and more. We may well be in the same situation ourselves. We've got a great big house here, but there's going to come a time when we can't manage it and we'll either sell or we'll try and get somebody in to help us out from our own family. And this may be one of those things that's happening here. So much as I honestly agree with a lot of the things that Director Salmon has got. I think we have to give a little bit of leeway here and wonder perhaps why this is being as extended as much as it is. Perhaps there are some family reasons there. I don't know.
Director Acton, and then back to Director Salmon. Go ahead, Director Acton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have concern that it doesn't follow what the community plan has stated, and I can't see, yes, some of it may be outdated, but I can't see that we're moving towards this direction necessarily. And then with all the letters from the community, I understand and agree with everything that Director Salmon has mentioned and Director Nicholson, but I'm curious to just defeat this, or like to just deny is really the route to go. Perhaps if the applicant is wanting to work with staff to make this more reasonable, if that was an option at this point, or do we just have to, like, it might be a question for legislative services, do we have to vote on this at this time? Or can we have what would happen if there was a motion to refer?
Turn to legislative services. There needs to be a reason to refer. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That is correct. There's a motion of floor that's been moved and seconded, which is option 2. If you want to refer it, you have to have a reason and a place to refer it to.
Well, I guess
Follow up,
my
Director
reason.
Acton?
Thank you. My reason would be, there's several. It's an expensive process for the applicants and probably taken some time here. They've hired an agent. And then to be able to take the concerns of the community as well. And so it's almost like bringing those two groups back together through staff. So that would be the reason to refer, unless staff feels like that's not necessary, I guess. Or do we just, or maybe from staff, is it better off just for when an applicant has come this far and it's not in keeping totally what the community wants, is it best for them to start over?
Mr. Limshu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it's the wish of the committee, certainly I think there could be a recommendation to refer it back to staff for us to work with the applicant to see whether or not there's the ability to modify the plans to try and better address the community concerns. And then we bring that revised plan back to the committee for consideration. If the recommendation is to deny the variance, and ultimately that recommendation is approved by the board, according to our procedures bylaw, the applicant, if they wanted to come back with the same application, would have to wait 12 months before they could reapply for a variance.
Thank you. Director Acton, follow up? No? Okay, I turn to Director Salmon.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to respond to Director Wilson, just to be clear about this would still, the 500 square meters or over 5,000 square feet is still adequate for secondary suite. In fact, there will be one, I believe. I think the concern is more about the variance, which would go to over 9,000 square feet for a large shop storage area. I believe a pool might be in there, but I think it's just, that's the that's the part that's beyond what's really needed.
I turn back, Director Wilson, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks, Blaise, for that confirmation here. I'm still torn here. I totally agree with what Director Acton is saying here. I really don't want to see this one denied and go through another 12 months. I'm sorry, no, I just don't see a denial
So you're
working.
looking for a referral motion then?
I am, yes.
So a motion to refer. Director Wilson, you're making the motion to refer. I just wanted to clarify. Is there a seconder on referral? There's been seconded by Director Kuhn. So now, if anybody would like to speak, you speak on the referral. Okay, Director Kuhn, then Director Salmon. Go ahead, Director Kuhn.
Yeah, I would like to refer it back because it seems that there's a bit of resistance on the board to approve this application. I do have a bit of a problem with us stipulating the size of a building. That, as far as I'm concerned, that goes a bit far. I mean, if I own a piece of property and if I adhere to the regulations that are before me, and there's no regulation with regard to, well, what's the maximum size of the house? If then some organization comes along and stipulates to me that, oh, well, you know, you can only build that size house, even though there's nothing in the bylaw, that would really annoy me. I don't think we have the justification for that. And based on a such kind of social attitude like, well, the building is too big because we really should concentrate on small, that's not up to us to do that. That we don't have a justification for that. Our justification is, should we approve the application for the development or not? The size of the building, that's not up to us.
Thank you. I turn to Director Salmon to close.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
yeah, I won't be supporting this, and I just want to respond to Director Kuhn. If you can imagine that, what if 9,200 square foot of building was going to go in next to you, you might have some concerns about size of the building, and that's what the residents' appearance and feeling of the new subdivision. So that's why I would not support the referral.
follow up, Director Kuhn, go ahead, please.
But I think that's why it's a good idea to refer it back, because there might be some way to adjust that to try to please the neighbors as well. I don't find it a good idea to deny the application and have the applicant now wait for a whole year to come forward with an alternate plan. I think that should be able to be sorted out now.
Okay, so there is a motion to refer on the table. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, just a second here. Okay, referral. Oh, sorry. Ms. Harrison's doing that for me.
7 are opposed.
So the motion is defeated. Back to the option 2. So we're going to vote on option 2 to deny. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion. It's carried. Thank you. That move on now to R3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R3 is a report from Development Services Division regarding application number DVP 21A06, and its proposed Lot D, southeast and southwest corner of Briarwood Drive and Shauna Goodmill Bay Road, PID 003446913.
Thank you. Who's going to be Mr. Mazzoni? Go ahead,
Mr. Mazzoni will
please.
be presenting. I will share my screen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
My apologies, just having some technical difficulties here. Okay, can everybody see this?
Yes.
Great. So with that, I'll pass it over to Felice to present.
This,
Are we not looking
This
for
app-
Lot D? Sorry. Is it?
yes.
This
Yeah,
is
it
Lot.
should. Yeah, that should say Lot D.
Yeah, it's,
This application is very similar to the one that the committee just deliberated on. It is in the same area, in the same proposed subdivision. But the main difference is that there is only one variance requested in this application, which is lot coverage, versus the other one, which was lot coverage and setback from wetland. So this is simply a lot coverage variance. It is, the applicants are requesting a variance from 500 square meters to 750 square meters, which is about 4% of the property to about 6.1%. So it's about a 2.1% lot coverage variance they are requesting. And again, it is in the same proposed subdivision, going back to Director Salmon's comments on the previous application. I should have mentioned that the riparian area in this subdivision is actually owned by the CBRD, and I left that out of my original comments. Although that doesn't affect the wetland area of the previous application, it's just an important thing to note, as the subdivision is a lot the proposed riparian areas and parkland is a lot higher proposed in the subdivision versus the 5% that's usually required in subdivisions. So I'm just following up with his comment on that one.
thank you. And do we have, is it Ms. Coors? Who would be the Lot D? Is there an applicant?
I didn't have much to add, again, other than to say that the coverage includes not just structures themselves, but the secondary dwelling as well as the main dwelling. And then there's, the coverage also includes a pool and a shop and storage building, all of that shown on this drawing.
Thank you. So we can have this screen down so I can look at see my fellow directors and see if there are any questions for staff. Any questions for staff? Go ahead, Director Martman.
Hi, Director, interested to staff on the way that you position the increase in lot coverage from 4% to 6.1%. Isn't it also from 100% of the 500 square meters to 150%? I just don't know why you choose one way of expressing it versus 150% over what's permitted by the OCP.
Go ahead, Mr. Limshu or Mr. Mazzoni.
Yeah, so Director Martman is correct. You can express it either way. You know, in this particular case, and you know, I'll leave it to Mr. Mazzoni to speak to his report. But yeah, the report basically looks at overall lot coverage and the impact on the parcel versus the increase in the square footage.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah, there's a number of ways you could do it. You could do it by square feet, square meters, percentage of lot coverage. I chose percentage of lot coverage because that's that's one of the components in the zoning bylaw, which was it would normally be 20 or the 500 square meters. It refers to the smaller one, if whichever is smaller. So we're dealing with 500. So I just used lot coverage. Came out with a percentage of coverage.
Thank you. We turn to the committee. What's your pleasure? Director Salmon, the director of the area. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. So this is very similar to the last one, so I would like to move option 2 again, please, to deny.
Option 2 has been moved. Has it been seconded by Director Nicholson?
I'll speak to it.
Director Nicholson, you second, that was a seconder? Yeah, go ahead, please, Director Salmon.
Yes, thank you. So again, this is very similar. It's this time slightly smaller. The request is to move up to just over 8,000 square feet. Again, it's just the same issue. It's had the same comments from the residents. It's the character and appearance of the neighborhood. It would not be in character with. So I would, that's hence my motion to deny.
Is there anybody else that wishes to ask a question? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Has carried. Sorry. All right, we're moving on now to R4, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R4 is a report from the Development Services Division regarding application number DVP 21D03 for 4370 Kingscott Road, PID 002831775. And the applicant, Maria Kyle, is in the lobby. I'll just admit her.
Welcome, Ms. Kyle. Go ahead, Mr. Mazzoni, and also, it's actually Mr. Limshoe first, right? Or
Yes, so Mr. Mazzoni will be presenting
okay.
This application as well.
Thank you.
I will just share my screen.
The Mr. Mazzoni show.
It is.
It's nothing like a couple of variances to start off my career at the CBRD, so it's always interesting.
Yeah. Here we go.
Okay, so an interesting application. This is a variance, a side yard setback variance that's being applied for. There's a requirement for a 3-meter variance. The existing house, the existing structure sits at 2.7 meters off the side lot line, as you can see on that particular drawing. I know it's small. Coming into this application as an outsider, the variance for me is a simple one in terms of 30 centimeters into a side lot line with an existing structure. Variances built into the Local Government Act, and the application of those are meant to deal with issues like these for structures that sit too close to lot lines. I did a site inspection with Mr. Limshoe. We went out there and took a look at it. It is only the rear corner of the house that is off the setback. It's not the front. The front meets the setback requirements. There is nothing else about the single-family house that is being required to vary. So it's a sliver of the side of the house. Looking at the variance and looking at the application, it is unreasonable to ask an owner to pick up the house and move it 30 centimeters, in my professional opinion. It is also, it's not feasible to slice off a pie-shaped piece of the house, going back to the very last corner of it, the very tip of the corner, to 30 centimeters to make it legal. So here we are with the applicant requesting a variance. I understand there's history behind this application. But for me, as a new employee coming in from the outside, the application is very simple, and it's a very, very simple request for a variance on a structure that needs to be legalized. I will defer, of course, to the directors and the rest of staff regarding history, and even to the building inspection department where necessary. But for me as a professional planner, this is why variance criteria are put into the local government and act in order to fix buildings like this. So my recommendation is to approve the variance. Again, as I said, Mr. Limshu and I went out. We could, I mean, walking through up the side of the property and around back, you would not be even able to tell that the house sits 30 centimeters too close. There is no issues with fire protection. It's the rear part of the property, so there's vegetation that exists between the two properties. And like I said, the alternatives are not really feasible. So here we are with a variance that's being requested to the committee. I'll defer to Frank if he wants to add anything onto that.
Then I have to wonder if the applicant wishes to add anything as well. So Mr. Limshu, do you wish to add anything?
I do not at this time.
Does Ms. Kyle wish to add anything? I think she was on.
I really don't, other than agreeing obviously with what Felice said. It's just a very small corner of the building that is not in compliance. And I did look at alternative methods of trying to make the building compliant, but financially it's just not feasible. And certainly I'm not in a position to move the house either. It's a big structure, you know, it's a full house, so it would be impossible to do so.
Okay, thank you. If we put the screen down, I'll look to my colleagues. I see Director Acton, Director Nicholson, and Director Morrison. Go ahead, please, Director Acton.
I have two questions. I did not see anywhere when this structure was built. And if this variance was denied, what course of action is there?
I'll defer to the building inspection component for the date of the house or the structure was built, but I can answer a recourse in terms of if the application were denied. The applicant could go, number one, they could go back to the adjacent landowner and try to work out a deal in terms of purchase of a piece of property that is mutually beneficial for both. The second is going to the Board of Variance and requesting relief from this setback infringement, and that's what the Board of Variance is there for, is to look at it through a technical perspective, and that would be my recommendation to the applicant as per the procedures in the Local Government Act.
Thank you. A follow-up, Director Acton, or I turn to Director Nicholson. Follow-up, Director Acton?
Yeah, so I still don't have I think Mr. McDonald was going to comment on the course of action, like if there's actually
Mr. McDonald?
any.
Through you, Madam Chair, I was going to just comment on when we received a permit back in, well, I can't remember when we actually received the permit, but I know we issued the permit in September of 2015. So I think that's the first part of the question.
Okay, is there anything else, Director Acton? No? Okay, I turn now to Director Nicholson and then Director Morrison. I believe I've got everyone. If there's anybody else, you can let me know. Go ahead, Director Nicholson.
Thank you. Well, what I'm not clear about is why the boundary adjustment process was not completed. It sounds like it was clearly the preference of the neighbors, and I'll note that there was significant neighborhood concern about this application. So maybe that's a question for the applicant.
Ms. Kyle?
Hi there. Could you repeat that? Sorry. The question?
Director Nicholson was wondering if there was any conversation on a boundary adjustment.
With my neighbor?
Yes.
Well, I wasn't involved in that negotiation when it started a few years back, but my understanding was that to do a subdivision, to get a small sliver of land, to change the lot adjustment, the neighbor was requesting a fair bit of money, as well as some other things that she wanted done to the property. I think she had mentioned at one point wanting perhaps some RV parking for her RV, which is currently parked on the road, and something to do with a fence. There is, and I don't know what you saw with the application, but there is a financial history here, and I am just not in a position to to spend that kind of money to purchase, a little piece of Christine's land, because obviously that was an option, but it's just, I just can't do it. It's just not possible for me financially. Like, this whole thing has been quite a hardship on me.
Okay, thank you. I turn to Director Smith or Director Morrison? Director Smith?
I'm not sure if Director Morrison was first.
Okay, go ahead, Director Morrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to move option 2 and speak to it if there's a seconder.
It's been moved and seconded. Go ahead and speak to it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is one of those that sitting around this table for longer than a term brings some benefit in being exposed to the challenges that Mr. Mazzoni hasn't been a part of, and there's a significant history to this, and I read through all of the letters that were submitted last night, and to a large extent the concerns that the neighbors had expressed were fairly accurate, and it's, I think, to a point where the reputation of this organization is a key component to this. There are people that we want to encourage to conduct their business in this community, and there's lots of them, and this has been denied in the past, and just looking at the response from the community, I think that there's another avenue that, well, the applicant who's been on the call wasn't a part of that. I think there was a clear message in the last denial that that was the direction that we wanted to see pursued. It has not been by the current applicant, and I think that the community would be well served if that was pursued, and we were to support denial. I'm not speaking on behalf of the chair, but I think the chair has been close to this as well, and I think she would echo some of my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do, and also now I have Director Smith.
We are now moved on to the denial, and I was going to speak earlier and ask a question of staff, so I'll withdraw.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other
Could I
hand.
say, could I say something
Yes, go
to,
ahead, please.
so I guess what I'm wondering is I haven't seen any of the comments from a couple of the neighbors for this application, but I want to know how things like maybe some of their concerns, how that really has any effect on this variance in terms of what the purpose of it is. And you have to understand that I've sort of inherited this problem, and I'm trying to fix it. And any denial from the past, my understanding is, without throwing any, well, let's just say that it was based not necessarily on what the purpose of the variance was, but perhaps more on the person who had requested the variance at the time. And that's why there are these processes. And I do understand why some people are opposing it. But if you live beside, for example, a lot and it's empty, and all of a sudden your view is gone because there's a building now, that is not something that can be that really has any bearing on the variance, because even if the house was moved six inches over, nothing would change. I mean, the purpose is to make sure that the proper authorities, whether it's the fire department or whatnot, has the access that they need to do what they need to do in the event of emergency. And that's the case here. Felice and Frank came and they did a site visit, and they had no problems with access and with whatever else or whatever other authorities may need to be able to do the job that they need to do. So I don't understand where denying this what would it accomplish in terms of, you know, the house is here, and again, if it was a few inches over, nothing would really change. In the last 4 years that I've been here, I have spent a lot of money making this place. It was an eyesore before, and I have improved the property dramatically to the point where it's no longer, it's actually a very nice home with nice landscaping, and the driveway's done and everything. I've done nothing but try to make the property better to, you know, to appease everybody, and for my own purpose as well, in terms of being proud of my home. And it's like it's a lynch mob or something. I just don't understand why everybody is so against this. I just want to be able to move on. And there's a huge financial burden that I'm carrying by staying here and not being able to sell this property. And trust me, if I could do something else to get this building compliant as opposed to requesting the variance, I'd be more than happy to do it. I don't have those means. This is not me trying to gloss something over. It's exactly the case. And so I don't believe that the concerns that the neighbors, if we're being, you know, focusing on what the purpose of the variance is, I don't think it has anything to do with the actual variance, with the, you know, this 12 inches or whatever 30 centimeters is of the back corner. I just don't see the correlation, other than, yeah, they may be upset about things that happened in the past, but, you know, like my neighbor herself, if any of my neighbors, if they wanted a variance, what would be the purpose of me opposing it if it really has no effect on anything? I just don't understand this.
thank you so much. I turn to Committee Director Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm quite confused here because all we're talking about is a minor, it's 12 inches or something like that. And I honestly don't understand what the big kerfuffle is here. I honestly don't see a problem with approving this. And I don't have the necessary history as is here. But what I'm focusing in on here is that we're not looking at 2 meters or 3 meters. We're looking at 12 inches or thereabouts. I'm lost on this one. I don't understand why we're having even a huge discussion on it. Let the poor lady have it.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call the question. All in favor of option 2? Opposed, if any? Director Wilson, thank you so much. We move on now to R5.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R5 is a report from the Development Services Division regarding application number DP21D08 for Eleanor Street, PIDs 009145273 and 009145231. And the applicant from Westlife Developments, I believe the name is Brandon, is in the lobby. I'll just admit them.
Brandon, are you in the meeting? Brandon, I see an empty screen there. Here we go. Welcome, Brandon. Can you hear us?
Hi there.
Hello.
I'm Peter. This is Brandon.
Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome.
Hi.
We are going ahead with the staff that's going to be presenting this, and it's Mr. Mazzoni and Mr. Limshew. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. It continues to be the Mr. Mazzoni
Yeah.
show. I will share my screen. Okay, there we go. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an application in Electoral Area D, and it's in a development permit area. It's a triplex. And the reason being that it has 2 PIDs is that the development is proposed over 2 lots that will be consolidated. You've got some information in front of you regarding the individual unit sizes of the triplex, what it will look like. I cross-referenced what was submitted in the application through the development permit areas that affect it, and I've made comments with those. The proposal meets the zoning, meets the setbacks and the lot coverage. And the only rider that I have to just note from the building inspection department was due to the fact that it's in a floodplain area, the applicant will be required to get a signed and sealed professional geoscience scientist to confirm the floodplain and on-site drainage prior to the issuance of the building permit. Other than that, our recommendation is for approval of this proposal.
Thank you. Does the applicant wish to add anything?
I think we're good.
Okay, great. So I turn to my colleagues. Any questions to staff or the applicant? Seeing none, it's Director Morrison.
Move the staff recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you so much. That goes to the next board, October 13th. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we go to R6, Ms. Harrison. And welcome, Ms. Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R6, there's a report from the Development Services Division regarding application number DVP 21G01 for 11004 Chemainus Road, PID 026897130. And the applicant, Kendra Waugh, is in the lobby. I'll just admit her.
Welcome, Kendra Waugh. Can you hear us?
I can, yes. Hi there.
Great, good, welcome. Go ahead, Ms. Wright.
So Ms. Wright will be presenting, and I'm just going to share my screen with the committee. There you go.
Thank you very much. So if we could go to the next slide, please. This is a 1.56 hectare panhandle parcel in a single family residential neighborhood. There's currently one single family home on the property. Next slide, please. So the owners wish to construct a 2-story, 7,480 square foot accessory building that's that you can see in the orange circled area there. Each floor will be about 3,740 square feet. The first floor will be used as a 3-bay garage and shop area, and the second floor will be used as a dog agility training room, which the applicant can provide further detail on. The Area G zoning bylaw does not limit the maximum size of an accessory building. So the applicants in this case are seeking 2 variances. If we could go to the next slide, please. The first variance is for the height. So the maximum size of an accessory building in area in the R2 zone is 6 meters, and the applicants wish to go up to 9.14 meters, which is a variance of 3.14 meters. The second variance request is that the zoning bylaw permits 1 toilet and 1 sink in an accessory building, and the applicants would like to increase that to permit a toilet and a sink on both the first and the second story of the building. So suites in detached accessory buildings are not permitted in the R2 zone. The applicant does not intend to use the accessory building as a suite and has offered to register a covenant on title that will prohibit suites in this proposed accessory building. I would like to note, though, that suites are permitted in the R2 zone if it's within the residence. So the adjacent property owners were notified, and I don't believe any responses were received. And I do believe the applicant would like to add some information about some details about the dog training center.
Great,
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Waugh.
Yes, so I'm certainly happy to take any questions anyone may have. I can say that I train my dogs. I don't train dogs for other people, but I train my dogs to compete in agility at quite a competitive level. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, we qualified for American Nationals, and it's my intention to try to seek a spot on one of Canada's national teams to represent Canada at a World Agility Championships in the future. There are 4 different World Agility Championships run by various organizations. Agility is a very technical sport. It's very difficult on dogs. And footing is of the utmost importance. So you can't run them on grass that's wet. You can't run them in barns in sand that is too deep because the risk of injury is just too high. So when we have good weather and the grass is consistently dry, I can train outside, but obviously that's a very small portion of the year. So the intention is to have an open space on the top floor. The footing will be something called grate mats. They're imported from the States. They're designed for dog footing specifically. They're like a foam mat, but designed to run dogs on specifically. And that'll allow me to train year round. Right now, my only options are to travel either to a barn in Sydney by the ferry terminal in Victoria, or to travel to a barn up in Campbell River, which is obviously about a 3-hour round trip, plus training time when you're there is not feasible on a weekly basis. And has been impossible with COVID. Most of the barn rentals have actually been closed, so I've been quite limited. So I know there was some information provided about dog training, and I don't wish to waste your time or bore you with any further specifics, but I am happy to answer any questions that you may have specifically.
Thank you so much. So I'll look to my colleagues and see if there are any questions for the staff or Ms. Waugh. Director Smith, go ahead, please, and then Director Nicholson.
Yes. Will there be others using your facility?
It's not my intention to rent my facility to anyone or to have host classes there myself. The facility is being built for me specifically. I have a taxing job. I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I have very unpleasant clients and bad days, so I don't enjoy surrounding myself with people in my leisure time. It's really, it's for me and it's for my dogs.
Thank you. Turn to Director Nicholson, then Director Kuhn.
Thank you. I'm just wondering what kind of dogs you use.
Oh, I found the sport when I had a German Shepherd, and he wound up with elbow dysplasia and had to retire. So I now run Border Collies.
Director Kuhn.
Yes, I'm just wondering, you have 3 garages on the bottom. These are big garages. Are they for RVs?
Yes, so we do have a large RV bought to take the dogs to and from dog shows. To my husband's chagrin, he has a dream of having a little fishing boat we could put in there as well. But the height of the garage doors is so that we can park our RV in the garage space.
Go ahead, Director Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, being a doggy person, I think this is great. I will be supporting this, and being also the owner of 2 very disobedient dogs. I've seen these ability dogs in place. It's brilliant work. It really is. So yeah, this sounds good to me. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Right. Director Martman. Go ahead,
Well,
please.
as a dog lover myself, but just a comment to the client or the applicant is that Border Collies run you, not you don't run Border Collies.
I think she might already know that.
Yeah. I did have just a comment about some experience because the place that we have they had national champions here for dogs, and it was a endeavor of love and money and all their energy, because it was traveling across North America, and they did need to have the RV. They did need to have all those different pieces to make that work for them. So I understand that. Yeah, this sounds like a big package deal, but it's all their life.
Yes, and I should say that this is my 3rd agility dog I'm raising, so I've not just dipped my toe in this pond and I'm going full. I've been in the sport now for about 5 years. You do not get your first dog and get in a position to run world team. So I'm well into the lifestyle now, and it is a lifestyle.
Thank you. I turn to Director Salmon. Did you have a question? Okay, I turn to Director Smith. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. I'm in support of the increase in the height for the accessory building. I am not in support of the additional washroom within the facility. I think that 1 washroom would cover both the garage area and also the upper level as you walk past it going up and down. There is, I believe, washrooms in your home, and as Area G does not support an additional washroom, I would not be supporting that. So at this time, I would like to amend the recommendation put forward by the staff. I recommend that it be recommended to the board that development variance permit number DVP 21G01 to increase the height of an accessory building at 11004 Chemainus Road, PID 026897130 be issued.
That's been seconded by 2 different colleagues. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on that motion?
I'll just say the reason for the 2nd bathroom is obviously we're going to be a significant flight of stairs up. We just wanted access to a sink to clean up any messes that may happen with dogs and without having to sort of run up and down stairs, and just with respect to training. So it's just a lot of stairs, and so it was more for cleanliness. That's why we put the request in there. It's not a hill I'm going to die on, but there was an actual purpose.
Director Acton, go ahead, please.
Well, I'm not a planner but I think that perhaps the applicant can work with Ms. Wright because, well, at least in area B, they can also count, not necessarily the toilets, but how many fixtures in your accessory building. Or laundry, or so perhaps you're allowed to just have a laundry sink. Or, perhaps there's something else that you can do and you can work with Ms. Wright to do that.
I do believe the Area G bylaw is very specific in their wording where it says one toilet and one sink and no other plumbing fixtures. I'm almost certain that's almost the exact wording. So in this case, removing the second or the two other plumbing fixtures would be in compliance with the zoning bylaw as it is now.
Okay, did I see, was there anybody else's hand before I go to Director Nicholson? Sorry, I didn't write. Go ahead, Director Nicholson.
I would just like to say, whoops, sorry. Sorry, wrong mic. I was warned. I would just like to say that I think that we should be flexible in this situation. I don't think it seems to me it wouldn't be untoward to have a sink in the upstairs, so I am not supporting the recommendation, although I am supporting that this move ahead as the staff recommended.
Okay, Director Morrison and then Director Kuhn. Go ahead, Director Morrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will support the motion made by the director. I think she clearly understands her OCP and zoning and the will of her community, and I think that this is the correct read and motion, and encourage others to support it as well.
Director Kuhn.
Concur with what Director Nicholson said. I agree with that.
Okay, is there any other comments? Go ahead, Director Smith.
Thank you. I think that we need to be very cautious when we make decisions in regards to additional fixtures based on animals. I know that it is possible to either have the washroom totally upstairs that would be usable or one downstairs, but one is the way the direction has been taken by the community in regards to additional fixtures in accessory buildings. So I ask that you support this motion. Thank you.
Go ahead, Director Morrison.
Ask the question be called.
I'm just checking if there's any other questions for staff. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. That will go to the October 13th board. Thank you. Moving on now to our 7.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R7 is a report from the Emergency Management Division regarding 2021 budget amendments for Function 351, which is the Fire Protection Missachi Lake. And the recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that the 2021 budget for Function 351 Fire Protection Missachi Lake be amended to 1. Increase donations by $14,000. 2. Decrease consultants by $4,500. And 3. Increase vehicle expense by $18,500.
Okay, I don't know if we need Mr. Gervais. We have the application in front of us. I turn to committee. It's been moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Salmon. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. We move now to 10-minute recess. If not, no?
Madam Chair, if I could just very quickly, please.
Just a sec. Where am I then?
Oh, you've gone muted on me.
Okay, at our last board, we did ex-nay the 10 minutes, sorry. So
Yeah.
that's not too sorry, I'm glad.
If that's okay.
Yes,
For planning, Mazzoni, first of all, he's got a good teacher in Mr. Limchu there, and I'd just like to say thank you to him for being so brief, concise, and clear in the answers. And let's hope that continues. Thank you very much, Mr. Mazzoni.
thank you. So we move then to question period. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are none.
All right, so we now move to motion to adjourn. See if I got my act together now. Motion to adjourn has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.